Hey, welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever tried to learn a new language and just felt completely stuck, like totally overwhelmed? Well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to break down 6 super simple rules that'll make learning any language feel faster, way easier, and honestly, a lot more fun. This is especially for you if you're just starting out. All right, so let's just dive right in with the big question, right? How how do some people learn languages so easily? You know the type. They just seem to pick it up like it's nothing. We've all been there wondering what their secret is. Well, I'm going to let you in on it. It has nothing to do with being a genius. Seriously, it's all about having the right strategy, the right techniques. And here's where things get really interesting. Let's call it the golden rule of language learning. It's pretty much the exact opposite of what they probably taught you in school. Yeah, really. And once you get this one idea, it's like a key that unlocks everything. It's what's going to help you make real, and I mean rapid, progress. Okay, so let's get into it. Section 1 is all about embracing imperfection. This is this is the foundation. It's all about getting your mindset right and knocking down those first few walls that stop so many people before they even start. All right, rule number 1. And this one might sound a little weird at first, but stick with me because it is absolutely crucial. You have to make mistakes. Yes, you heard that right. Not just allow them, but actually welcome them. Think of a mistake not as a failure, but as a little signal from your brain saying, hey, we're learning something new here. This is uncharted territory. So, why is that? Well, let's think about it like this. Your brain has this, let's call it a language database, okay? It's like a library filled with every single sound and word from your first language. It's comfortable in there. So, when you try to make a new sound from a new language, your brain goes, whoa, wait a second. That's not in my database. That feels wrong. But that feeling, that awkwardness, that's the magic signal. It means you are literally pushing the boundaries of what your brain knows. Here's a perfect example. Take the Spanish word for door, puerta. See that R sound? For most native English speakers, that rolled R just doesn't exist in our sound library. So when you try to make it, it feels super weird, maybe even a little embarrassing. It feels like you're making a mistake, but that's the whole point. If you lean into that wrong feeling, you're on your way to making the real Spanish sound. If you don't, you'll just replace it with a regular English R and you'll never sound authentic. Okay, so we've established that sounds are super important. And that leads us straight into rule number 2, which is all about avoiding a really common trap for beginners. Ready? You've got to scrap the foreign alphabet. Or at least, don't let the spelling fool your brain. Look at this table. It's a perfect illustration. Take the Portuguese word spelled R-E-A-L. Your English-speaking brain immediately wants to read that as real, right? But that's totally wrong. It's actually pronounced something more like hiao. So what do? Simple. You create your own personal code. In your notebook, don't write R-E-A-L. Write hiao. Same with the Spanish word llama. We see 2 L's and think llama. Nope, it's llama. So you write that down instead. You're basically writing instructions for your own brain in a language it already understands. Okay, so you're making mistakes, you're focusing on sounds. That's awesome. But how do you know if your mistakes are getting you closer to the right answer? How do you correct them? Well, that brings us right into section 2. Find your feedback loop. This is all about setting up a system where you can practice, get corrected, and then practice again. It's a cycle. And rule number 3 is maybe one of the most practical pieces of advice you'll ever get. Find a stickler. Now, what's a stickler? It's someone, could be a teacher, a tutor, even just a really patient native speaking friend, who is, well, a stickler for the details. They're not going to just nod and smile when you get something wrong. They're going to correct you right then and there. And that is so important because it stops you from practicing your mistakes and turning them into bad habits. And a really good stickler, a great one, actually gives you feedback on 3 different levels. First, they'll fix the little things like the pronunciation of a single word. Then they'll help you with the bigger picture, like the sentence itself, the grammar. Like in French, you don't say I am hungry, you say I have hunger. A stickler will catch that. And finally, and this is so valuable, they'll help you with the social stuff, like are you using the formal or informal version of you correctly? That kind of multi-level correction is just, it's priceless. It's like having a personal coach for the language. All right, rule number 4 is one of my absolute favorites. It's fun, it's free, and you can do it anywhere. I call it having shower conversations. And yeah, I mean literally talking to yourself in the shower, in the car, while you're doing dishes, anywhere. The goal here isn't to have a perfect conversation. The goal is to find out what words are missing from your brain. So why does this work so incredibly well for beginners? First off, there's absolutely zero pressure. Nobody's listening. You can control the whole conversation. You're the one asking the questions, and you're the one answering them. So you try to have a little conversation in your head, like ordering a coffee. I would like a coffee, please. Okay, easy. How much is it? Um, it is. And then you realize, wait, I don't know the numbers, or I don't know the word for expensive. Bing, your brain just created a gap. And that gap is now your mission. It's not just a random word on a list anymore. It's a word you needed and didn't have. That's how you learn what's important. Okay, so we've got the mindset right. We're making mistakes. We've got a feedback loop with our stickler. So how do we make this a real sustainable thing? That brings us to our third and final section. Create your growth system. This is where we turn all these ideas into a real habit that's going to keep you learning for the long haul. Rule number 5 is called the buddy formula. And this one is so critical because it solves the number one problem that people have when they try to practice with someone. You know what I'm talking about, right? You find a practice partner, you start talking, it gets a little difficult, and before you know it, you're both just speaking English again. We need to avoid that trap. And the solution, the formula, is actually brilliant in its simplicity. Look at this. The trap on the left is when you and your partner both speak English. The moment the conversation gets tricky, you just revert back to what's easy and poof, the learning stops. The formula on the right is this. Find a practice buddy where the language you're trying to learn is the only good language you have in common. Maybe their native language is Russian and yours is English, and you're both trying to learn Spanish. Well, guess what? You're forced to speak Spanish to each other. There is no escape hatch. And that is when your learning just takes off. And that brings us to our last rule, rule number 6. This is the secret to building a really solid vocabulary without that awful feeling of being overwhelmed. It's not about cramming for hours. It's all about small, steady, consistent steps. So what is this rule? It's simple. You learn 5 new words a day. That's it, just 5. Now I know what you're thinking. Only 5? I can do way more than that. And yeah, maybe you could try to learn 50, but here's the thing. Your brain won't actually remember them. 5 is manageable. 5 is memorable. 5 is the magic number for building a real, usable vocabulary. I know, 5 sounds like a tiny number. It feels slow. But check this out. Let the math do the talking. 5 words today is, well, 5 words. But after a week, that's 35 new words. And after just 1 year, you've learned 1,825 words. That is a huge deal. That is a vocabulary that gets you well into the intermediate level. And you built it piece by piece, just a few minutes every single day. That's the power of consistency. So let's just recap real quick. Those are your 6 simple rules. Number 1, make mistakes. It's how you learn. Number 2, scrap the alphabet and write sounds, not letters. 3, find a stickler who will actually correct you. 4, have those shower conversations to find out what you don't know. 5, use the buddy formula so you're forced to practice. And 6, the 5-word-a-day rule to build your vocabulary brick by brick. Look, these aren't just theories. These are real practical techniques that can completely change your language learning journey. It can take it from feeling like a chore you have to do to being a really cool adventure. You have the tools now, so the only question left is for you. What's your first step going to be? Your journey starts right now.